Hi, guys. Welcome to Bravo Hot Tea and a very special Happy Mother's Day episode. And honestly, Real Housewives of New Jersey couldn't have been on a better day. One thing for sure, all of these women are great moms, whether they have young children like Rachel and Danielle or older children like the rest of them. They're all such amazing moms, and of course, we can see with some of the older children, like Dolores's kids, who else? Teresa's kids, they're all doing amazing. They're all, they're all going into great schools. So it doesn't matter whose team you're on. On Bravo Hot Tea, we're not on anyone's team. We watch the show for what it is. We're not reading 100 tweets to read the backstory. We're going to do a recap on episode 2 of the season. Icing on the brain is how they have titled this episode. With that said, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get into it. All right, guys. This episode, I have to say, it wasn't exactly, let's see, like, one of those like main episodes of the season. It was a little bit more of a filler. I just feel like they started the season with such a great bang given what happened last week. This week, it was a little bit calmer. We're getting a little bit more backstory on each of the ladies, and we're kind of getting set up for what's to come next week. But you know what? That's okay. We're still going to get through it. Let's still go through, some of the scenes, what the girls were up to. We start off with Jennifer Aiden, and let's see. They started filming around end of August last year. So timing wise, this makes sense. We see Jennifer Aiden and her kids getting ready for the new school year. And of course, her youngest daughter steals the scene every single time. It's not her oldest daughter. Her oldest daughter is super sweet and a little bit quieter. It's her younger daughter, whose name I'm forgetting. Every single time she is on the show, that girl is going to say something hilarious. And I guess at this age in her life, she's into cute boys. And of course, she speaks her mind and lets us know that. So Aiden and her kids, they're doing some school supply shopping. Moving on, we have Danielle and her little daughter who's at a photo shoot. Honestly, it's amazing to me. Some kids are, they're more in their shell. It takes them some time. And then we have just bubbly, amazing kids like Danielle's daughter, who is just like a burst of energy. But then again, Danielle's her mom, so I can kind of see like where she gets that burst of energy. Super cute. Now, with what's her name? Danielle and Nate. They get into where is Danielle and Nate? Okay, here we go. I got them here. Danielle and Nate, I don't know if this is the first time they're talking about it, but Nate, it was 6 years ago that he had some sort of a cyst in his brain, but luckily they were able to do surgery, and this man is living his best life. He's doing well. And at the end of the episode, we see a celebration for Nate, basically, and that's what the party is for later in the episode. We will definitely get to that. Now, when it comes to what's her name, Dolores and Polly. Dolores is chit chatting with Polly about getting her credits as she's about to take her real estate license again, or no, she's about to take, I guess, I don't even know how real estate classes work, but she's finishing up her CE credits to get her real estate license. I think I got that. And she wants to get back into flipping houses. She apparently used to flip houses with Frank back in the day. And I guess in her head, it'll just be like, like riding a bicycle. It'll come back to her. Meanwhile, Polly's like, no, 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 you want me to do all the work. And then, I don't know, you're just going to do the fun stuff. So we'll see. We'll follow Dolores's real estate journey. Here's what I was thinking as Dolores was mentioning getting back into real estate. Look, this show is not going to last forever, but Dolores has done extremely well playing Switzerland since she basically stepped foot on the scene. Here and there, we see Patterson Dolores, but for the most part, she's, pretty even keel. You never know. Maybe like Kelly Ben Simone from Real Housewives of New York, Dolores can have a lucrative real estate career post Housewives. Who knows? We shall see. Now, Teresa and Louie. So, Teresa and Louie are chatting. Let's see. Do I have Trey here? Where are these two? There we go. Teresa and Louie are chatting about Louie's father, Louie Sr. He has been sober for 8 years, and Teresa and Louie will be attending a party for him. I guess they only had like some clips of it, but essentially they will be attending a party for him. So, congrats to Louie Sr., who has been sober for 8 years. And we see more of Teresa and her home life. Teresa squeals, laughs, screams very naturally anytime there's something about her daughters. Guys, every single episode, I need to say daughters like at least 5 times, okay? Like we have to do justice and say daughters 5 times at least. I think I said it like 3 or 4 times now, so I gotta say it once more, twice more. All right, so we see Teresa being sad about Gabriella leaving. Gabriella, of course, is her second oldest, and Teresa brings up how Gabriella reminds her of her mother. Gabriella, according to Teresa, is kind of like the glue, the rock, and she just kind of holds things together. Now, we didn't really get into this, but let's see, where is Teresa's look? Here we go. Teresa brings up the fact that there's some legal situation going on with Margaret Josephs behind the scenes, but she can't talk about it. Here's my issue anytime a housewife gives us crumbs and then they don't give us everything. It's kind of like either give us the full story or like don't. But don't do this like one foot in, one foot out, kind of like what Kyle Richards has been, doing for the longest time now. Anyways, we do see Teresa get a little bit heated talking about the Margaret legal issue stuff in her confessional, and then that's kind of how we wrap segment 1. All right, so we get back from commercials and we move on to Melissa and Joey Gorga, and we of course have Antonia, who's also going off to university this year. And it's also Antonia's 18th birthday, and there's a big family brunch. Keyword family. However, we only have one side of the family. We only have Melissa's side of the family. Her beautiful mom, I guess her aunts, of course, her sisters, and some other folks. And it's just amazing to me how in this scene, Joe and Melissa are talking about how they accepted Joe, and that's like his only family at this point. Meanwhile, he has only one sister, like one blood relative, like, not cousins and stuff, and he's not good with them. But this is his family now. Like this is it. It is quite heartbreaking. Like this show, this is the wedge that it has built up between Teresa and Joe Gorga. Anyways, so Gorga will be officiating a wedding. Now, I didn't quite catch who the man is related to Melissa, but Joe needs to, I guess, make sure he gets the paperwork done so that he can officiate a wedding. He needs to practice. Will you, the groom, take the groom, and so forth. But besides that, when we see these like family scenes, it reminds us why New Jersey is New Jersey. This is what made us fall in love with New Jersey. It's not just the housewives, and yeah, we see the husbands here and there, they'll chime in. No, with Real Housewives of New Jersey, it really is a family affair, and we're pulling in the Nona, we're pulling in like the grandkids, we're pulling in your fifth cousin, we're pulling in the guy from dry cleaning, we're pulling in everyone. And it's just a really adorable family show, or so we thought. And then we saw all the fighting. Anyways, moving on from, let's see, move on. It was like a short segment. We move on to segment 3. So back to Teresa. Gia, of course, graduated. Gia is her oldest, graduated from Rutgers, and she's going into law. And let's be real, I'm sure what she went through with Teresa and Juicy Joe, I'm sure it impacted her greatly. She was in her formative years as a teenager. So she's in law and she's doing well. And then I forget what they said after. She's going into not finance. She's in law, but she's going into something else after. So good for her. Another smart cookie. All of these kids from New Jersey, it doesn't matter what the adults are up to. All of the kids, they're all smart cookies. And of course, we see, Teresa crying. When it comes to Danielle and Jennifer Aiden, we see them go over to Teresa's for M Sculpt. Now, M Sculpt to me, I guess, as to how Teresa put it, um, you put the machine on you, and it's kind of like you did, like, I don't know, like 1,000 crunches or something like that. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I don't know, move on to the next thing. Now, while Danielle and Jennifer Aiden are going off to Teresa's, we see Margaret, Melissa, and Rachel Fuda get together for pickleball. And it's just funny, like some of the discussions, like both of these groups of women are having, it's like kind of the same about each other. So I just thought that was like, I don't know, kind of interesting. Oh my God, Margaret. Margaret, Margaret, Margaret. This is why we adore Margaret. She'll just like throw in random things about her own life in there. It's like quite deprecating. I did not say that word right, but anyways, deprecating. There we go. Margaret in her confessional is like, I forget verbatim what she said, but she was basically like, before, when she was learning tennis, she slept with the tennis instructor so she could get like the lessons for free. She said it in much better wording, but it was just like really funny. But she's like, she's not sleeping with the pickleball instructor today. So, anyways, that I don't know. I caught that and I thought that was pretty funny. Rachel Fuda, although she is young, she's like in her early 30s, I believe. She talks about her, I think it's called rheumatoid arthritis, RA. She has RA flare ups going on right now. And previously, when she was like 4, she like fell off her swing, she hurt her leg. They had a cast on, it like swelled up. She did some sort of surgery back in the day and she was fine, but like now she's in a lot of pain and it's flaring up. I hope she gets that taken care of. I never want to hear anyone, have any sort of like health scare. The sooner she gets it taken care of, you know, just sending Rachel Fuda good vibes to take care of that. All right. Melissa, this part I didn't like really get because so Melissa's, chatting with like Margaret and Rachel Food at Pickleball. Um, before I get to that, Danielle is hosting a party for Nate, and all the ladies are invited with the exception of Jackie. But on the same so the same day, Melissa also wants to have a daytime party as the same day as Danielle on the shore. I don't know what that's about, but okay. Now, Danielle and Nate are going to be staying at Rachel's house, but in the meantime, Danielle is with Teresa and Jennifer Aiden at Terrace's house doing M Sculpt. And of course, Aiden and Teresa kind of look at her like, you're either on our team or you're on their team. This whole factions and teams, it's just too much. But this is what these ladies are up to on the show. This is what we're getting this season. So this is what we have to, discuss. All right. So this is the part that was interesting. They talk about John Fuda, and John Fuda last week, he put up a post essentially saying, like, he's a good man now. He's a father. He's a good member of society. We get all that. Rachel kind of clarified, like, look, when John was 17, he was caught stealing, not stealing. He was caught selling pot and he got arrested. But of course, that was weaponized on the show. And Melissa said something to the extent of, coming from a criminal herself, that being Teresa, she has had zero growth from camp. I'm using, camp instead of another word. That's the thing about Teresa that we have noticed. And I think a lot of people have who am I looking for? The food is. Where are they? Sorry, guys. I have a whole bunch of stuff here. All right. Okay, so this comparison I've been like seeing quite a bit where it's like Teresa has gone to camp, but she hasn't learned anything. Meanwhile, we have people like John Fuda. Whatever he did in his past life, he did it, but he's a better man now, and he's made some mistakes. He acknowledges it, but he tries to live life with his, right foot first. Meanwhile, Teresa, we're noticing, whether it's the ladies on the show or, collectively, us, the people, we're noticing, yes, you went to camp, but we're not seeing much growth. It's kind of the same old, same old. I think the biggest shocker for us, the folks, just, watching the show and stuff, I think the first red flag of her not showing growth was when we noticed Louis and Teresa get together. We were genuinely scared for Teresa. Like, Teresa, please, not again. Don't pick a guy who might have a shady past. And then, of course, we get all this stuff about like email marketing or whatever marketing he does. At this point, Louis seems like a great guy to Teresa. We don't see major red flags, and I hope he continues to prove us wrong. But anyways, the comparison between Teresa, John Fuda, meanwhile, Teresa is saying all these things. It's not lost on the audience, and it's not lost on the women. Moving on to segment 4. This is how the ladies are, I guess, not in teams, in different houses. So we have House 1, Melissa and Margaret. We have, and of course, their husbands. We have House 2, Rachel, Jen Fessler, and Danielle. And Rachel and Danielle, they are trying to form a new relationship, a new friendship. Of course, last season when they both came on, we thought, oh, they're both the same age. They both have, or not the same age, similar age. They're both young. They have young kids. It's just, of course, they're going to get along so great. No, they don't necessarily. Rachel and Danielle have two completely different personalities. So it's just so interesting to, see them both come in and interact with each other. But they've agreed to just form a new friendship and go from there, which is why, even though Danielle Cabral, we noticed, was like Team Aiden and Teresa, is now trying to form a friendship with so many names. Rachel Fuda, who's on Team Melissa. And of course, Teresa and Aiden are warning Danielle about hanging out with the other team. Guys, I just have to say, I feel so silly saying stuff like teams, but like this is what's going on. And I unfortunately have to remind myself and like say it out loud. All right. So the third house is Jennifer Aiden, Teresa, Dolores, and this is Polly's. I guess it's his first time going to the shore, or maybe he's been before, but he just had a lot of stereotypical things to say about Jersey Shore, where he was kind of like, "Oh, do I have to get a fade?" Like he was just being silly. Now, since Jen Fessler, the Messler, is staying with Rachel. Rachel is like just kind of berating Jen Fessler about being friends with Teresa. Like, hey, you saw what Teresa and Louis did to us at the reunion, yet you still want to be friends with them? Like, Rachel Fuda is just kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, you saw what they did to us. We're your friend, and you want to be friends with someone like that. Now, here's the thing. Fessler thinks Trey fights dirty, but for whatever reason, Jen Fessler, I don't know, she likes Teresa, and she also says that in her confessional later on. Now, Danielle and Rachel, they're forming a new friendship. That's great. Good for them. And then again, we see Margaret bringing up what's her name? Ah, Margaret is bringing up all the tension. Now, here's the thing with Margaret. Where is Marge? Marge. I feel like Marge sometimes just says things to kind of like stir up tension or like stir up drama, kind of like egg people on. If she has a point to get across, she will bring it up a bunch of times and then kind of see like who takes the bait. This is like what I'm sensing from Margaret. So we end the segment and we head off into the commercials. And I want to talk about this one commercial, this one ad, Ozempic. I just thought it was so fitting that we have these Ozempic ads playing while the Housewives are on, particularly Jersey. The women on Jersey are so thin. And then we had, of course, they were doing promos last week. We had Margaret and Dolores on the Sherry Shepherd show. Honestly, good for them. At least Dolores, she's been quite forthcoming, open and forthcoming about her usage of whatever she needs to do to get the physical appearance that she has. And even Margaret, she was quite upfront about using Ozempic. So I don't know. I just thought it was kind of like funny, like it's commercial break and it's like Ozempic, and the ladies barely eat because, they're pretty much all on Ozempic. We come back, the ladies, everyone, they're getting ready to leave the respective houses. Joe Gorga finds Margaret's very expensive wig on the table and he tries it on. This is an image I feel like is going to be stuck in our brains, even if we don't want to. We can't unsee what we've already seen, but here it is. Take a good look. He is a good sport though. He puts it on, he tries it on and takes a pic. So good for him. Now, at this point, everyone's in their respective cars going to the Danielle and Nate event. And there's also some, I guess, just a lot of similarities in the car rides. We, of course, have Margaret and Melissa in one car. And then we have Teresa. I don't know why I'm calling her Teresa. Teresa and who else? Jen Aiden in the other car. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing someone. I don't know who I'm missing. Oh, yes, and Dolores was also in the car with, Jen and Teresa. Anyways, Teresa talks about the 8-year sober anniversary for Louis Sr. That's all great. Melissa's also talking about Joe officiating a wedding for next month. And, Joe has to practice. Will this groom take this groom? It's all very cute. And essentially, both Teresa and Joe Gorga are talking about their families in law. And it's just like, it's so sad to see. I feel like they will always miss each other. It doesn't matter how awful things have gotten between them. I just feel like there's a void. And of course, they are seeking that void in their respective families in law. And so I feel like we keep seeing this time and time again. Now, Danielle brings up Jackie. Let's remember when Danielle joined the show last season, Jackie was not very nice to Danielle. Jackie looked Danielle up and down like, what is she wearing? Why is she so loud from the get go? I don't know why Jackie was not into Danielle from the get go, but that's what happened. So, of course, this is a party for Nate, they're celebrating him surviving, him living. This is a positive, beautiful party. And so of course Danielle in the car as they're going over to the party, they're talking about Jackie, she wasn't invited. And one thing I have to point out, guys, off topic, Jen Fessler, while they were like, showing her going over to the party and whatever, her glow up like from first season to this season. I don't know, actually I feel like we saw her get a glow up earlier. Anyways, doesn't matter. Point is, this is the best Housewives glow up like I've seen. Usually it takes them a couple seasons and then, then they get their glow up. But Jen Fessler, she was like, no, no, no. I don't care if I'm a friend up. I am going to get this glow up, and you guys are going to see me go from, she was always an attractive woman to like even more attractive. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that in there. Okay, so we get this new girl. Her name is Tiffany. I think I caught it. I think her name was Tiffany. And normally I try not to pay attention to like random people, random friends that they showcase on these shows because it's kind of like there's already so many characters at play. Like, who's this other random person? I don't know if they were trying to introduce new friend ofs, but she apparently, well, Rachel Fuda apparently knew her somehow. And then this Tiffany girl, she sits down with the main cast. And of course, Margaret is, trying to get everyone talking. And Margaret's like, if everyone here is the first wife. And apparently that's a good way to get to know everyone, which I thought was kind of funny. And some of the younger girls looked at her like, what? Like, what? Anyways, Margaret goes on about how she's always been the second wife and da da da. I think we all have a decent understanding of Margaret's backstory, considering she's been on the show long enough. But once again, we see Margaret bringing up how there's so much tension in the group. And we head off to a commercial break. But afterwards, we see Louis and John Fuda make eye contact for the first time as Louis, Teresa, Jennifer Aiden, Dolores, and like that crew basically enter the party. So that's what we're at now. All right, so we get back from a commercial break, and now we are pretty much at like the final segment. And of course, like I prefaced this recap, this episode was kind of a filler until we get to the very final segment. Everyone's at the party. Is there going to be a blow up? what's going to happen. There's only a couple minutes left up at this point. I was a little bit shocked when Jennifer Aiden walked in. Her and Margaret were, they gave each other a kiss and a hug. They were nice to one another. They weren't fighting or screaming or any of that, which was honestly so nice to see. A little shocking, but nice, I have to say. Now, when it comes to these four, this, of course, is the first time Teresa, Louis, and John. Well, Teresa already saw John and Rachel Fuda at the last episode, whatever the last event was. Oh yeah, it was Jen Fessler's 55th birthday, but they haven't seen Louis. So something I kind of want to bring up. They keep saying we haven't seen him since New York, New York, New York. They don't really want to break the fourth wall. Like they could just say reunion, but I guess they kind of lose some of that TV magic if they say reunion. So it's like, oh, we haven't seen Louis since New York. So, they're now seeing each other after a couple months after the reunion. Louis is seeing the Fudas. So that's where we're at. There was a beautiful gospel choir that was singing for Nate's celebration of life. Sorry, that sounds so dire. Like we have him here. He beat his brain cyst situation. So everyone's singing, everyone's dancing, everyone's smiling. Whew, we're back to the tension as Margaret keeps bringing up and reminding everyone. Teresa pulls Jen Fessler, and she basically wants to have a little chit chat. Where is Teresa? Where is she? There we go. Now, Teresa pulling Jen Fessler off to the side, everyone kind of knows Jen Fessler is like Melissa's friend, but I guess she's kind of teetering over to Teresa's side. Now, Teresa asked Jen Fessler about the meetup at Margaret's before the reunion. Basically, everyone besides Teresa and Jennifer Aiden. Also, Dolores wasn't there. So Teresa wasn't there. Louis, of course, wasn't there. Jennifer Aiden and Bill weren't there. Dolores wasn't there. Polly wasn't there. Frank, remember, episode 1 was like, hey, there was this meetup. And then I think Frank was like, he didn't go. Something to that extent. Dolores probably caught wind of this meetup at Margaret's prior to the reunion, and Dolores probably told Frank, absolutely not. You are not attending that meeting. We're actually going to come back to this because on Watch What Happens Live, Andy asks Melissa about it, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. So at this point, the Messler is basically put on the spot. And Fessler was like, oh, just so you know, whatever was discussed prior to the reunion at Margaret's, I believe it was at, none of it was used. Okay. Now, Trey, she also asked Fessler, what did you mean by you never executed the plan? I guess there was some sort of like a hot mic moment of Jen Fessler saying verbatim, you never executed the plan. Like, and Trey's calling her out, like, what do you mean by that? Now, Jen Fessler is like, hey, Marge was hysterical about Louis calling her son. I mean, I think anyone would be hysterical if Louis was calling their son and it wasn't for like a good reason. It was like some random call out of nowhere. And Teresa basically is swearing on her daughter's life. Like, no, that's not what happened. Anytime you swear on your kid's life, it's just like you really like it's just not a good, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not a good thing. You don't really want to say stuff like that. But you know what? Jen Fessler is like, look, okay, Teresa, like, this is what you're saying. You're swearing on your kid's life. Okay. So Jen wants to believe Teresa. Now, here's the thing. Trey thinks John is now a great father and a businessman. She gets asked about the whole, uh, getting busted for selling drugs situation that she said about John. This is the part I don't understand. Is Teresa kind of like backtracking because she went so hard on John Fuda on the first episode about his like him being the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County or whatever it was? Like, I don't understand her. So, what was the whole point of you bringing up him being the biggest drug dealer in Bergen County? Like, what does that have to do with today? Oh my God, guys, I'm so like into this that I almost like spilt my water. But anyways, this is the thing about this show. They're all digging up dirt on each other, and it's like, who cares? Who cares what happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Well, okay, maybe if they were on the show, but you get what I mean. I don't know. I just feel like she was kind of like changing her tune at this point. It's like, well, you brought it up, so like now you think he's a good man. I don't know. I just thought that was very weird, and we kind of end off on the Jen. What's her name? The Fessler. We end up on her and Teresa. There's a pic I wanted to show and use. Where is it? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Not this one, but anyways, to wrap up this very long recap, let's get to, you know what? Let's get to Melissa, because on Watch What Happens Live, Melissa was asked about a couple things. Andy asked her about the meeting of the minds. Basically, it was Melissa, I guess Joe Gorga was there, Margaret, obviously. Um, I can't remember if Danielle was there. I'm assuming Rachel was there. Danielle was there, but not Nate. Rachel was there, and I'm assuming John Fuda was there. This meeting of the minds happened prior to the reunion, and it was how Melissa, the sentiment I'm basically getting from all of this is Louis was investigating all of these folks, and the investigator, of course, is Bo Dietl. And so, because they're all getting investigated, they felt like they should have some ammunition before going to the reunion, which is why they all met up over sushi. When you kind of put it that way, it does sound like a pretty big issue. I could understand why they would want to, individually and collectively be prepared for Louis and Teresa during the reunion. However, when Andy asked Melissa about it, she was like, no, we were just having a meeting of the minds, having sushi. Come on, Melissa. Like, we no, 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 we're not falling for that. Look, guys, I totally understand this meeting of the minds. If you have like investigators like coming for you, of course you're gonna wanna like have your A game when you go to the reunion. I almost wish it was just not almost. I wish it was just like a fourth, like, hey, look, they had investigators on us. This is what was happening. We just wanted to like get our stuff like in order. And like that was that. And then she said something about the manila envelope never being opened or used. That's like besides the point, whether you used it or not. You guys still had a meeting of the minds. Meghan McCain was also on this episode of Watch What Happens Live with Melissa, and Meghan McCain spilt some tea, which I thought was kind of funny. Meghan McCain was like, apparently Bo Dietl used to be at Fox News, but then he got fired. But then Andy was like, well, lots of people were on Fox and then they got fired. So I just thought that tidbit was interesting. So that's that. I'm just gonna leave us with this image of Marge because, guys, there's a lot of tension, okay? Remember, we're watching New Jersey. There's a lot of tension. Don't you dare forget it. Okay, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this recap. I know this was not an episode with like crazy fights and all that, maybe until the very last couple minutes, but it was still a fun episode. We got to see, their families. We got to see all the factions, the houses. So that was kind of fun, I guess. But other than that, happy Mother's Day, everyone who celebrated today, and have a great rest of your weekend and a great start to the week. If you haven't already, subscribe, turn on the notifications, do all of that fun stuff. And that's it for me here, Bravo Hot Tea. I will catch you guys another time.